I do. You're worthless. If you were important, do you really think they'd send you out on measly little maintenance jobs? Pathetic. You're nothing more than a groundskeeper. Hardly worth fueling you up at all. Perhaps a glimpse into the fear I've struck into others will inspire the same in you. Around and around we go, faster and faster. Let's see which of my past victims you'll be meeting first. I bet you're wondering where we'll start. Stopped here again.
As Lucas have, I have met 2 kids before.
I think I'm very close to finding out what I'm looking for. In fact, I think it might just be behind your door.
Marshall had a bad feeling in the pit of his stomach.
Why wouldn't she respond?
He pondered to himself.
Sky screamed like she was in trouble. And what was with all the bird noises? What happened?
All these questions and more ran through his mind as he and Zuma closed in on the dock. They looked around to see that Captain Turbott's boat was nowhere in sight. Zuma focused his eyes over the waves in the distance. He was able to spot a ship far out in the sea near a little island with a lighthouse. "There! He's on Seal Island," said Zuma. "Hop on my hovercraft. We'll have to cross the ocean." Marshall gulped. For some reason, crossing the ocean on a night like this just didn't sit right with him. He jumped out of his EMT truck and slowly walked over to the hovercraft. He hesitated for a moment. "What's wrong?" Zuma asked him. "Nothing," Marshall said, shaking his head. He decided to push the thoughts away. Marshall reached out his paw to Zuma, and the lab helped him into the back seat of the hovercraft. Once Marshall was seated and buckled in, Zuma took off, picking up speed across the sand and zoomed off into the ocean. The two watched the waters and how the blood moon reflected on the surface of it. Even on a night like this, all seemed calm with the ocean. Despite the situation, seeing this calmness within the ocean relaxed Zuma a little. He loved the ocean, and the serenity and peace within it always calmed him down. As Marshall stared at the reflection of the blood moon, he noticed something disappear around the borders of the moon. He looked to the sky and noticed something that he hadn't before. There were red stars surrounding the moon, 4 in total. The red stars were tiny, but still noticeable. Zuma, do you see that? Marshall asked Zuma, causing him to look up. Yeah, that's the blood moon, remember? It's been there all night. No, not that. I'm talking about those tiny stars going around it, Marshall said, pointing. Zuma squinted his eyes, looking closer, and he did indeed see the stars. I see them. They're red, just like the moon, replied Zuma. Not only that, those 4 stars are the only red ones in the entire sky, Marshall added. What do you think it means? Zuma asked. I don't know, answered Marshall. The hovercraft began to close in on the island. After riding on shore, Marshall and Zuma hurriedly jumped out of the hovercraft. They stared at a ship floating near the shore a distance away from them. It was the same ship that they were supposed to have the Halloween party on. Marshall, taking the quiet scene in, felt an unusual chill. Something just seems eerie here, he said. What do you mean? Zuma asked, turning to look at him. It's just so quiet. Too quiet. It makes me feel uneasy, Marshall answered. Zuma proceeded to walk over to the boat, and Marshall followed behind. They walked up the wooden ramp of the ship and onto the deck. Decorations from the party they were supposed to have still hung around the ship. The two approached the back end of the deck and knocked on the entrance door to the inner parts of the ship. No one answered. Zuma decided to pull on the door to see if it was unlocked, and surely enough, it was. He opened the door and they walked in. The inside of the ship was actually bigger than it looked from the outside. There was even a wooden staircase that led down deeper into the ship. Tiny lanterns were hung on the walls. Captain Turbot? Zuma called as they carefully inched down the creaking stairs. Captain Turbot? Marshall called as well. As they walked deeper down the stairs, they noticed that the lower part of the staircase had no lanterns on the walls. Near the bottom of the stairs, there was a dim light coming from around the corner. The two could hear noises, as if someone was chopping something up. Marshall and Zuma gulped. Captain Turbot? Zuma called as they walked down the last of the stairs. In here, guys, called the captain from around the corner. The pups were relieved and surprised to hear his voice. Once they had gotten to the bottom of the staircase, around the corner was a small kitchen area. Wow, Captain Turbot. I didn't know your ship had a secret kitchen, Zuma said, looking impressed. Captain Turbot had his back turned to them while he stood chopping something on the counter. He chuckled. Well, there's a lot of things that you don't know, he answered, his back still turned to them. Captain Turbot, we really need you to come with us, Marshall said, interrupting the small talk. This is going to sound crazy, but there's this ghost pirate that's going around killing everyone. Captain Turbot chuckled once more while still chopping. Oh, I wouldn't find that hard to believe, he replied. The two pups found his behavior to be very strange. He continued to chop the unknown object. This made Marshall curious, and as a result, he began to slowly walk forward to get a better view of what the captain was doing. As he walked past the side counter, something caught his eye. He quickly looked over and gasped. Captain Turbot's orange knitted cap laid on the floor in a crimson trail. Marshall, eyes wide, began to shiver. Zuma, Marshall whispered out. Zuma walked over to where the Dalmatian stood. What's wrong? He asked. The lab soon got his answer as Marshall pointed in the direction of the cap. Zuma's heart stopped. Captain Turbot? Why is there blood on your cap? The lab asked, spooked. The captain didn't reply. He just continued to chop while humming in an eerie fashion. Marshall and Zuma slowly walked to the cap and peeked behind the counter. Behind that very counter laid Captain Turbot. The two pups' stomachs grew weak as they struggled to hold their vomit in their mouth. Looking at Captain Turbot, he had been completely dissected. His innards were splattered out with a few organs still being connected to his body. As they gazed at the gruesome and horrific sight, they could still hear the other Captain Turbot humming and chopping on the cutting board until his head turned around 180 degrees to reveal a red, pupilless eyeball and an expressionless face. Marshall and Zuma screamed, holding onto one another while he continued to hum and chop down on the now visible object. It appeared to be a heart, a human heart. The two pups wasted no time in bailing. They quickly ran out of the kitchen and fumbled up the staircase. The ghost didn't seem to be chasing them, but that fact didn't slow them down. They exited the ship, dashing down the ramp. But Marshall tripped and tumbled down the wooden ramp and into the sand. "Marshall!" Zuma called. Making his way down, he helped him up after reaching the bottom, and the two made way for the hovercraft. They were in such a panic that when they hopped in, they didn't even bother buckling up. Zuma started the hovercraft and took off in the ocean, heading back towards the town. The ghost pirate appeared on the shore that they had just left.
Those who gaze at the moon as I pass shall soon find that night to be their last,
he said before vanishing. Zuma's hovercraft hummed as it raced across the water. Marshall, he was gutted like a fish. Zuma couldn't believe what happened to Captain Turbot. He and the captain had a lot in common when it came to the sea. They both shared a deep interest and love in it. Now the only person he could relate to about such things was gone. The chocolate lad felt tears slipping down his cheeks. Marshall noticed this and gave him a gentle hug from behind. He couldn't find the words to say. Marshall let go of him as both of their ears picked up a splashing sound behind them. Marshall gasped and quickly turned around. His body froze upon what he saw. A giant black fin heading towards them at a great speed. "Zuma! Zuma!" Marshall called, shaking him. As Zuma turned around, the fin sunk back into the ocean before he could see it. "What? Was it the ghost pirate? Is he still following us?" he asked Marshall, panicked. "It was a giant shark. It was following us," Marshall answered, looking equally terrified. "A shark? We've never seen a shark in this ocean before," said Zuma. "I didn't actually see it. Just the fin. But I'm sure that's what it was," answered Marshall. Zuma looked side to side at the hovercraft, but saw nothing. "Keep an eye out for it, and hang on." Zuma pressed down on the gas and sped the hovercraft up. Marshall, although scared, did as he was told. When he looked upon the waters, all he could see was the red tint and reflection from the blood moon. He wouldn't give up. He narrowed his eyes and concentrated hard from a distance, watching behind them. The shark suddenly sprung out from the front of the hovercraft. "Whoa!" Zuma was able to duck just in time as a great white shark jumped up before snapping at him and completely diving over the two. Marshall wasn't exaggerating when he called the shark giant. In fact, calling it giant was a complete understatement, though the two have never really seen a shark up close and personal like this. The great white dove back into the ocean, creating a massive shockwave on the surface of the waters, creating waves that shook the hovercraft violently. That thing was huge, Zuma said, trying to gain back control of the craft. Marshall didn't say a thing. He just laid low, covering his head while his teeth chattered. Marshall, can you see it? He called out. Marshall shut his eyes tight and continued shivering. Marshall! No, I'm too scared. I don't want to get eaten, Marshall whispered. Zuma scoffed at the situation that they were put in. This didn't look good at all. Marshall, please. I need to focus on getting us back to the shore safe. I need you to keep looking out for... Zuma's sentence was cut short as the ginormous great white tore through a part of the hovercraft with its powerful jaws. The craft, now damaged and unbalanced, began to capsize over into the ocean, taking both pups down with it. Marshall struggled to breathe as he was already quickly running out of air as he sunk deeper into the crimson-like ocean. Zuma watched as the Dalmatian began to slip out of consciousness. Thinking quickly, he wasted no time activating his pup pack and oxygen mask and made straight for Marshall. He grabbed Marshall around the waist, removed his oxygen breather, and gave it to his drowning friend. Zuma adjusted the breather on Marshall's mouth before activating the jet propeller mode on his pup pack and heading towards the surface.
Stay with me, dude. We can't lose you.
Zuma looked around for any sign of the titanic beast, but he couldn't find even a trace of it.
Where'd that thing go? Something that big shouldn't be able to hide. Unless...
Zuma looked below him, and surely enough, a wide mouth with sharp teeth was speeding toward him from the deep. He was able to dodge the massive jaws just in time and swam to the surface. Still toting Marshall, he quickly made his way for the beach shores.
Just a little closer. Why can't this thing go any faster?
The tall fin was speeding toward Zuma, and the safety of the shore seemed miles away. Zuma's legs were starting to get tired, as he had been kicking them to swim faster in tandem with his pup pack. He continued to hold on to Marshall tightly. His breathing was becoming heavy, but he focused his eyes on the approaching shore.
I won't give up. Not with Marshall on the line.
Zuma bared his teeth and kicked his legs as fast as he could, greatly increasing his speed. Soon, he was able to create a wide distance between himself and the titanic fin. The great white tried to shorten the distance by lunging at the lab, but missed. The force of the shark crashing into the water next to Zuma caused a wave to form and pushed Zuma and Marshall the rest of the distance to the shore. The force of the shark crashing into the water next to Zuma caused the wave to form and pushed Zuma and Marshall the rest of the distance to the shore. Marshall slipped out of Zuma's hold, and both of them landed in the shallow water. Marshall coughed up water and slowly opened his eyes. Huh? Where are we? Where's the shark? He asked, looking around. We're back on shore, Zuma answered. He was lying in the shallow water, completely exhausted. But the last thing I remember is falling into the ocean. Marshall turned his attention towards Zuma. Did you save me? He asked. Zuma chuckled. Barely. You really need to lay out the pup treats, he said, smiling at Marshall. Thanks, Zuma. I thought I was a goner, he said, looking down. Hey, we're a team, and you're my friend. I couldn't just leave you behind. The great white sprang from the ocean and onto the shallow water, catching the lower part of Zuma's body in its teeth. Zuma yelled out in pain. Marshall looked shocked. The shark proceeded to try and wiggle its way back into the ocean with Zuma in tow. Marshall! Zuma called out to the Dalmatian, reaching out for him. Marshall snapped out of it and ran to him. Grabbing both of Zuma's paws, he tried to pull him from the shark's mouth. No! No! Marshall yelled with tears in his eyes. The shark was pulling him along with Zuma. Zuma, no! We can't lose you! It's okay, Marshall. I'll be fine. Marshall looked at him with wide, tearful eyes. If you don't let go, you'll die too, Zuma said, trying to be strong for his friend. Zuma! You have to protect the others. Zuma yanked his paws from Marshall. Just before the great white wiggled back into the ocean with him, Marshall ran to the end of the shallow water and stared into the deep. He watched as crimson liquid began to surface to the top and let a tear slip into the ocean. In the reflection of the water, he watched as another red star faded out of sight from around the blood moon, leaving only 3 remaining stars. Zuma! His voice echoed across the seas. He bawled and pounded the water mercilessly. Come back! Zuma! Zuma! As Marshall continued to grieve, he didn't even notice his pup tag light up.
Can anyone hear me?
Spoke a familiar but raspy voice.
Need help. Marshall needs you. Downtown. Truck totaled. Katie injured. Need medical attention.
Rocky laid on the ground near his overturned truck in pain. Using his remaining energy, he tried to stand, but winced when he applied pressure to his hind legs. There was a sharp pain that seemed to be coming from the left hind leg. He looked over his surroundings. His recycling truck was definitely in bad shape. The front was completely mashed in. There were huge dings and dents all over the back, and the vehicle was missing a wheel. He was able to spot Katie lying on the ground not far from the truck and began limping in her direction. Katie! He tried to call to her, his voice still raspy. Katie! He gently shook her, trying to wake her up, yet she was unresponsive. Katie, wake up! Still no response. He placed a paw on her wrist to try and feel her pulse. Oh no. His eyes widened. Katie, please don't be. Marshall had left the beach long ago. He was completely broken and vulnerable now, having to watch not 1, but 2 of his friends die. He blamed himself for Zuma's death. If he had kept a lookout like Zuma told him, instead of cowering, he would still be here. Not to mention, he would still be there if he didn't have to come back for Marshall.
It's all my fault. He got eaten because of me.
The guilt was eating the Dalmatian alive, slowly making him go insane. He knew that Zuma always used to say that if he had to go, that he would rather take eternal rest in the deep blue. But the way that he was taken away surely wasn't one that he imagined before. Marshall was at the point where he wanted to escape this night. He just wanted it all to end. I can't take this anymore. I just can't. He slammed his paw on his dashboard. Why us? Why? Huh, Bloodbeard? We've never done anything wrong. Tears began to escape him again. Zuma, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. As he continued to mentally beat himself up, his pup tag lit up, and Rocky's voice came from the other end.
Everyone, I'm sorry. I wasn't able to protect Katie.
His voice sounded shaky.
I need you all to meet me at the park. Come as fast as you can. It's urgent.
Rocky was the first to arrive at the park, as he was the closest one. With his recycling truck totaled, he had to limp the entire way there. He waited for the others, and sometime shortly after, Marshall pulled up in his EMT truck. An expression of total defeat surrounded his features. Chase was next to come. He slowly disembarked his vehicle, staring at the pink pup tag and collar he held in his paws, not looking up once. Rocky quickly noticed the spirit-breaking expressions on their faces, as well as the other missing members of the party. A grim realization started to seep in. Where are Sky and Zuma? He hesitantly asked. Neither pup could face him or speak. Guys, stop fooling around here! Tears started to fill the mixed breed's eyes. Where are they? Where are they? As the other two bowed their heads in depression, Rocky's answer was confirmed. No, we can't be the only ones left. We just can't. He ran up to Marshall. Marshall, please tell me Zuma's still out there. This has to be a joke. Where is he? He began to shout. Give him back! Give him back! Give him back! Rocky fully bursts out into tears, bawling freely on Marshall's chest. Marshall placed an arm around him to comfort him, trying hard not to join him in his teary parade. It was plainly clear the pups were defeated, broken, spiritless. In a way, they were already dead. Bloodbeard had won. If there was any chance for survival, the three would have to leave town, and fast. We have to leave Adventure Bay, Rocky said. We have to get somewhere safe, whether it's Foggy Bottom or Carlos Jungle. We just have to leave. What's the point? Chase mumbled out, still staring at the pink collar within his paw. There was nothing but emptiness in his eyes and voice. There's nothing left for us. Everyone else is gone, even Ryder. The Paw Patrol is over. Even if we survive this night, I don't think I could go on, just to stop feeling this pain. I'd rather Bloodbeard just stab through my heart right now! He raised his voice. Marshall and Rocky looked at him in shock. Chase, you don't mean that, Marshall told him. Yes, I do. That monster, he took Sky right in front of my eyes. Chase was now pouring out tears. After I had just told her how I felt. After I told her I loved her. He fell to the ground, sobbing loudly. I just can't go on. I can't live with the images of her death. He covered his ears. I can't live with the sound of her voice. Her voice begging me, pleading me to save her. And I failed. I failed. I failed. I failed. Chase wailed and wailed, projecting deep emotions, letting out everything he held in the moment of Sky's death. Rocky and Marshall could only watch in heartbreak. I deserve to die! I deserve to die! There's nothing left! There's no one left! Marshall had heard enough. He quickly got closer to Chase. He raised his paw and smacked Chase with all his strength. Rocky gasped at this. Chase, confused by the impact, looked up, rubbing his cheek, and saw a teary-eyed Dalmatian before him. Chase, you idiot! You're only hurting us by saying these things. Hurting me! Rocky and me! We both care about you. You have us left. You have me left. Am I not a good enough reason for you to survive? Do I really mean nothing to you? Marshall's expression was a combination of anger, sorrow, and hurt. Chase continued to stare at Marshall in surprise. Why was he saying all these things? Chase couldn't come to any conclusion. Marshall, what are you
Those who gaze at the moon as I pass shall soon find that night to be their last.
You know what? I had enough with this. Bloodbeard, I don't know, whatever you're doing, just stop it. Because I'm tired of hearing that same riddle over and over again. We all know what it means. It's your freaking pirate ship of yours basically travel around the moon that we saw during Halloween. Even if you don't even tell us why you kill us, or anything for that matter, because the fact is, you care about fucking killing anybody. If you really want to do this, then tell me what's the reason why you want to kill every decent mortal souls, including our friends.
Dang, I never see you cussing like that before, Rocky. Well, there is now. Can you give me one reason why you decided to kill every single one of our friends? Just for what? Killing us or collecting our souls or something? You know what, if I'm being honest with you, little pup, I basically did all this because they call me the cold-blooded pirate because I'm always being a serial killer of the entire Venture Bay. I know that because the fact is I used to come here to this place because I always want to collect these souls every single generations. Nobody ever seen the paranormal things happen during the blood moon. If there really is something bad happens here, it's supposed to be a warning that I will come around Adventure Bay when the blood moon appears. It's not like because I'm doing all this because I just want to collect all your souls. I only did this because I just want to see how it feels when you try interfering with my own visiting hours. Your visiting hours? Exactly. I only came here because I'm only been the decent mortal soul because I just want to collect every single people's bodies, just to collect their souls to see what I can do. Even if people don't even see that or whatever they don't see, it's all just a part of an illusion. I only kill people because it's just a little revenge payback after the king sucking my ship. I did all this because I just wanted to see how it feels. For a little revenge. A little revenge of your actions? That's the most childish thing I ever seen. What? Yeah, you hear me. That is the most childish thing I ever seen. Just because you want revenge, it does not mean you wanted to basically kill everybody. Look, your friends are not dead. You're just dreaming. The whole time, Rocky. You're not even basically in reality. You're just dreaming the whole time. Wait, if I was dreaming, then did that means... How come I haven't been asleep the whole time? Well, if that's really true, then... It turns out all this freaking nightmare, it was just a big... a dream. Oh, I'm back in my pup house. Turns out all this blood moon massacre was just part of the dream, and then you think that's basically happened. That's so eerie. Oh my god. I never know this could happen. What type of people who ever dream about something that I can remember so vividly? Andale. Sky, how come I ever been dissipated with this kind of stuff like this? What do you mean? Well, look. It's just, whenever I dream something, do you think all this stuff happens? I mean, how can I really know that the ghost pirate ship that we see at the night sky on Halloween, it really happens?
No, I thought it was just some weird coincidence, because apparently sometimes people never seen paranormal activity, stuff like that. Maybe it is all just part of illusion, because we never know what we see. It's not real or real at all.
But, guys, I had a little concerned question. If there is something in that pirate ship, then how come he basically did all this because we're killing our souls? Well, that's what cold-blooded people do. They just murder people for no reason. Well, because I just did not know that, because that sounds a little bit freaky for me to understand. I mean, how come we ever seen the ghost pirate ship to begin with? Well, we all saw it, including Ryder. Well, if there's any other things that we should know about this, because apparently though, every single time Adventure Bay it's always been normal, but every time it's night or anything for that matter, it started like there's a bad thing happening in the entire course.
You know, that's a real question, is Rocky. Can you imagine what would happen if the entire Adventure Bay turned against on us and they feed us to the monster?
You don't think that will happen, do you?
No. I'm just saying that because I just want to make you feel paranoid.
Yeah, paranormal. And strange. If there is something out there, who knows what's gonna happen to us?
To those who gaze upon the moon as I pass, shall soon find out